If you're wandering around my garden in the evening, you may come across a small round blob of a spider on a thin, nearly invisible line of silk. A few millimeters wide at best, these tiny creatures are nearly impossible to find unless you catch one out in a strand of web in your torchlight, or shake them down from the tree onto a sheet. I found my first one on a night walk in October 2020. I snapped some pictures and was delighted by the quirky face that looked back at me from my viewfinder. It transpired that this was a crab spider in the genus Parabomis, and even more exciting, it didn't look quite like any of the 3 species that had been described. I was put in touch with Professor DIPPENAAR-SCHOEMAN, who it turns out was in the process of describing several new species, including one which looked similar that had been collected in Zimbabwe. I started searching for these elusive spiders in the hopes of finding some mature adults to confirm the exciting ID. A few immature ones turned up at the first Spider Club of Zimbabwe, AGM, and then a few days later I came across this lovely specimen. She was also immature, but I kept her overnight, intending to take some more pictures and release her the next day. I woke up to a molt. She was now fully mature. This was a good start, but females are tricky to ID. A male was needed to clinch the deal, and fortunately one turned up a few days before I left on holiday. Parabomis megae it is. Which brings us back to today's specimen. This is also a male. We can tell that it is Parabomis megae and not the widespread P. martini by taking a close look at the retrolateral apophysis, this bit here, in which in martini this is straight out, whereas in megae it curves upwards slightly. The species was described from preserved specimens, so as far as I know this is the first video footage of these spiders. I know of at least one other Zimbabwean who has found and photographed these in Harare, so they seem to be quite abundant. That said, the fact that the species has only just been described makes more sense when you consider the scale. Here's a cell phone picture of one on a match head. They also tend to scuttle back and hide on a branch if disturbed, and unless you see the motion, they look just like a bud or a piece of stick to the naked eye. I ended up preserving one male and one female to examine under the microscope and send to the Bulawayo Museum. Beyond that, I'm hoping to learn more about these bumbling beauties by observing them in their natural habitat. For example, this one had multiple strands of web spanning several meters of vegetation. How do they even catch prey? What do they eat? How do they mate? One day we might have answers. For now, thank you for joining me on this little journey. I hope it inspires you to take a closer look. Who knows what other wonderful creatures are sitting under our noses? Thanks for watching.